Today's video will be a quick and easy tutorial on how to add lighting to your Republic Commando helmet. So, yesterday I tried something different, bought a different product, a little L wire product from Hobby Lobby, and it didn't work. So today I found some LEDs and a little battery pack at FiveBelow. So I live in the United States. There's a store called FiveBelow that has little gadgets and gizmos for cheap. And I found this there. So the combined price of the little power bank and the lights, which can change colors as you can see, totaled up to about $10. So this is definitely an easy and cheap way to get started on lighting up your own Republic Commando visors. And like I said, I'm very new to this, so just use this as a starting point. There are other ideas that help diffuse the light better. I use the Hobart Face shield, which is a little darker, which doesn't diffuse the light as well. But with a slightly lighter visor and whatnot, you can do pretty much the same thing that you see on Republic Commandos. So the light switch that we have here plugs into USBs. I got each of these for $4. As you can see, I'm trying to light up all 5 helmets, so I want something cheap. The little power bank was about $6 and works with the light strip because it has a USB port. And what's nice about this is they're rechargeable, so I don't have to worry about going through a bunch of batteries. These other tools that you can see that you're going to need for the process of adding the lighting will include a lot of glue. A hot glue gun will be your best bet. Super glue will also help. In terms of securing the power bank, I already had Velcro, so I'm going to use Velcro, but you can just glue it in if you don't have Velcro. Just make sure that the rechargeable port area, the USB-C, is still accessible, so you can still recharge that battery if you do choose to glue it in. The reason I went with these LEDs and not with the product that I had purchased before, the EL or L wire, is the wiring. It was consistent throughout, but it wasn't bright enough. You couldn't see it through the Hobart Face shield. So the LEDs light up a lot brighter. They work with the battery pack, which is small enough to fit in the helmet. So it works pretty well, so I'm excited about that. But like I said before, diffusing the light is something that I didn't really get to do. So while this tutorial gives you the first few steps of adding the lighting, which still makes for a great display piece, finding a way to really diffuse the light will work a lot better with the final product, especially if you're going to wear it out in the open, if you're going to wear it with a cosplay or for Halloween. You want to diffuse the light so that your face just isn't lit up and people can see your blue face on the inside of the helmet. So my recommendation would be to use some cotton or some foam and cut it up a little bit. I've seen some people use that to diffuse the light and then put a second visor on the inside, so it kind of traps the light in between. Once again, I didn't do this because the Hobart Face shield was a little too dark. With the light off, the Hobart Face shield looks really good. But then once again, it doesn't really diffuse the light when it's dark out and I have the visor lit up. So that's what you won't see in this tutorial, but you can do after you finish all the steps that you see in this video. What I will show you though is how to add the lighting, add the battery pack. Like I said, I'm using Velcro, so I'm just cutting the strips to the proper length to put inside the helmet and also on the battery pack. As I was just doing before, as you probably saw, I plugged in the LED strips into the light strip or the battery pack and made sure that they were able to light up. So make sure you test the product, make sure it lights up and is fully functional before you glue it into the helmet. It would be a disaster if you got a faulty product and you had already glued it in your helmet. So just test it out first. And then once you know that it's working, next will be these steps where you're mounting them inside the helmet. One thing to keep in mind, and I don't really say this in any of my other videos, but just in terms of finding the right glue to use, there are many different glues out there. Many of them have different strengths. Many of them have different dry times. Those are 2 things to keep in mind. Super glue is a faster drying glue and it has a lot of strength. The hot glue from a hot glue gun has pretty good strength and very fast dry time. And then you have other glues by Gorilla Glue that have relatively good strength but take 2 hours to dry. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're making props, is finding the right glue to use. I actually use a combination of multiple different glues to accelerate the process. Sometimes I'll use the hot glue gun to just secure little points, like for this Velcro, like the edges or corners, so that it holds it in place so that the glue that takes slightly longer to dry can dry and the Velcro or piece won't move in the meantime. And with products like Velcro, make sure that glue is fully dry before you test the Velcro, because the Velcro will bond stronger than not dried, not cured glue. So you don't want to rip off the piece of Velcro that you just glued in by sticking the battery pack on and testing it out. So make sure it's fully dry first. Once you have those two Velcro pieces secured, one to the battery and one to the inside of your helmet, next will be to lay in the LED strip. These strips are nice because they have an adhesive back. So I slowly pull off the little tape covering and just lay it on. This isn't going to be the final resting point. I'm definitely going to want them to be a little bit more secure, but the stickiness on the back definitely helps with aligning it where I'm going to want it at the end of my finished build. The technique I'm using here involves this light strip, which is about 1 meter long, which allows me to pass it back and forth 3 times above the visor. And the little lights are spaced out a little bit. So each time I go back and forth, I try to put the light on the second or third row in a gap in between 2 of the lights from the previous row. And that'll just help distribute the light a little bit more, so it's not so blocky and piecey. You could just cut the strip. If you have a strip that's like continuously lit, you can just do one strip. You don't have to layer it. It'll look a little bit cleaner on the inside. But I decided to use the full meter, or just over 3 feet, and just go back and forth to add a little bit more light. And just as with installing visors, you're working on the inside of the helmet, so there's not that much space. So if you need to use tape, I had blue tape in one of the previous shots, and you can use tape like that or painter's tape to kind of hold it in place if it's moving around too much. But I didn't have to use tape to secure it, and I was able to use the adhesive back and kind of just line it up the way I wanted to. So just to be better safe than sorry, I'm testing the product again. So I'm hooking up that battery pack. The glue has been fully dried, so I'm Velcroing it in, and I am testing it out. And as you can see, it's secured. The light can turn on, it lights up the visor. I already gave my whole spiel about light diffusion and whatnot, but if you're wanting to do something like this and get the same results that you see here, you can totally just copy these steps and leave it at that. If you want to take it a step further, you can add the cotton, add the cut up foam, the second little visor to trap the light, and that will help diffuse the light and trap the light a little bit better. But if you're not, or if you are, how I secure the light strips a little bit better is I just use hot glue. The hot glue does not mess with the strips. I try not to cover the lights, the little LED lights, with the hot glue. So I go in between and just try to secure those light strips using the hot glue. And I'll just run it back and forth and back and forth. And I actually probably use 2 longer glue sticks for each helmet. So I used a lot of hot glue because I wanted to secure it in there nicely, and I didn't want to have any issues with the light strips falling off or anything of the sort. So pretty simple. I just use hot glue. You can use other glues, other techniques, but hot glue, I love it because you can put a ton on whatever, it'll dry quickly, and it will hold. And if you mess up, you can just go over it with heat and pull it off and go over it again and redo it. So it's very forgiving. That's why I like hot glue. I use hot glue to install my visors. And I've had helmets with their visors installed and not had any issues for multiple years. So hot glue works great for installing visors. So I figured it would be good to use for installing these light strips as well. Something that would hold well and dry relatively quickly. But those steps more or less bring us to the end of this tutorial. It's very simple, very easy. Installing the battery pack and installing the lights. As you can see here, I went over the entire light strip with that hot glue, so it's fully secured. And I did it on all 5 helmets. So I think it looks pretty good. Since I use the Hobart Face Shield, I'm gonna stop here. But if you want to follow more steps and do more things to diffuse the light, you certainly can. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.